The perennial issue of high sea waves continues to pose serious danger to the lives and property of hundreds of coastal residents of Agavedzi, Amutinu and Salakope in the Ketu South Municipality of the Volta Region. The latest sustained waves that have hit the shoreline of these ravaged communities for the past 3 weeks have not only deepened the plight and woes of the victims, but also posed other health, social and economic risks to the inhabitants of these affected communities. Thousands of residents of the country's coastline have not known peace from the Atlantic Ocean for several years now. In the Ravaged district of the region, for instance, 2 communities, Pokpogbo and Huvema, with a population of more than 1,500 inhabitants, are now in the sea, leaving a thin seashore land separating the Atlantic Ocean and the Ketu Lagoon. In the past decade or so, the sea waves have turned their destructive attention to the east coast of the region, ravaging communities such as Toko, Blekusu and Adina, with the hardest hit communities being Agavedzi, Amutinu and Salakope. Apart from thousands of residents relocating to other riverine regions across the country, in addition to some leaving for La Côte d'Ivoire, Togo and Benin for their fishing expeditions, cemeteries, shrines and essential social amenities such as electricity, water and roads have not been spared in the latest waves in recent times. Some basic school buildings are just a few meters away from the sea. The main Blekusu Denu road is seriously threatened at Agavedzi. The fear of residents is that if this road is finally cut off and the sea water finds its way into the Ketu Lagoon, the greater part of the annual state could be wiped out, including destroying the main Accra-Aflao road somewhere between Agbozuma and Denu. The inhabitants also say communities such as Anglo Afiadenyigma, Anyako, Seva, Nogokpo, Atiavi, Hatogodo, Blemazando, Laoshima, and all the low-lying towns of Ketu South will be severely threatened. This will also mean that the famous Accra-Aflao International Highway will be cut off, while the only alternative and longer route to Accra through Denu, Blekusu, Agavedzi, Amutinu to either Keta Angloga Dabala or Haveji Anglo Afiadenyigba Junction Apipe would have also been cut off. For the economic, social and security implications, your guess is as good as mine. The chief fisherman of Salakope, Togwi Emmanuel Anumutete, told journalists in an interview that the perennial sea waves situation is deeply troubling.
The sea is destroying all our houses. Secondly, due to the destroyal of the houses, we have the debris in the sea. The broken houses are in the sea. That could not enable us to go to sea anymore. We can't fish anymore. Because as soon as you send your net there, it will be entangled by the debris. It will tear in pieces. You have to go and borrow money to amend it. It continues day in and day out. In the evening, you will see a lot of us sleeping along the street there. And some of us are sleeping in the church over there.
Right.
That's just the shade.
Right.
Because we don't have any place to sleep. The death toll in the community now is increasing very, very well. Because of starvation, the death toll in this community is increasing day in and day out.
It is against these backgrounds that the President, John Dramani Mahama, led a high-powered government delegation to the affected areas on Thursday, 6 March 2025. He was accompanied by a number of ministers of state and members of parliament, Environmental Protection Authority (EPA) officials, as well as national, regional and constituency executives of the NDC party. Also present at the engagement were a number of traditional rulers led by the paramount chiefs of the Aflao and Some traditional areas, Tobiga Ajongaga Amenya Fiti IV and Tobiga Adama III. The president regretted that the Blekusu Phase Sea Defence Project could not be started and continued under the previous MPP administration, resulting in the current worsening plight of the residents of the affected communities. He therefore directed the Minister of Finance to ensure that budgetary allocations are immediately made to urgently begin the second phase of the project.
They came and they have made the assessment and they're giving us a comprehensive report of what is happening here. 51 households have been affected and 300 people have been displaced, and 80 meters of the coastline has been washed away. Now, when Chief was speaking, he touched on what the issue is. We started a sea defense project called Blekusu Phase 1. The feasibility study was also done for Blekusu Phase 2, and the understanding was that when the contractor finishes Phase 1, he will continue with Phase 2. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. So the project ended at Phase 1. Government did not provide funding to continue Phase 2. Phase 2 would have covered Agavedzi, Salakope, Adina, and Amutinu. And so that basically is the problem. We just have to allocate the funding so that the project will start. Happily, the finance minister next week is going to present the budget. So I'm going to ask the finance minister to include funding to start Phase 2 of the Blekusu Sea Defence Project.
President Mahama also expressed grave concern about the quality of work being undertaken at the project site of the Ghana Gas Resettlement Housing Scheme in the area.
Before we came here, we went to the resettlement project that I believe or I've heard is being financed by Ghana Gas. I don't think the project was well thought through. The work is shoddy, and even the area where the resettlement is being built is a flood area. And so if it floods, it will affect those buildings too. And so those buildings are not fit for purpose. There are two things we need to do. Start the building of the Phase 2 of the defense wall, but at the same time resettle those whose houses have been affected.
The Volta Regional Minister, James Gunu, briefed the President and his entourage on the tidal wave situation in the area. Food items valued at thousands of Ghana cedis from the government, the MP for Adaklu and the Minister for Roads and Transport, Governs Kwame Agboja, as well as the CEO for Engineers and Planners, Ibrahim Mahama, were also presented to the affected victims through the chiefs and the assembly members.
In the meantime, to alleviate the plight of those who have been affected, we brought some items to be distributed to those who have been displaced. The items are from three sources. One, our brother Governs Agboja, who is our Minister of Roads and Transport, has donated 250 bags of rice. For those of you who know, our mother comes from Denu, and so we're also part of you. And so my younger brother, who is the MD for Engineers and Planners, has also given 100,000 cedis.
Benjamin Makafui Attipoe, TV Africa News, Agavedzi.